Welcome back to Here TV, where I talk about manifestation, energy alignment, inspired action, and passionate living. There are some things you can do over and over and over again without ever getting tired of it. And your time here is your opportunity to identify what those things are for you and then to go do them. There are just some things that attract your attention and resonate with your sense of fun. Things that come naturally and easily to you that you are not inclined to overindulge in or overdo to the point of you getting sick of it or to the point of it being a detriment to your well-being. Imagine for a moment that life is a pastime for divine beings, a game that eternal non-physical consciousness enjoys, something it plays for fun to relieve the monotony of knowing everything and being everywhere all at once. I call this the vacation method to manifesting. You know how people yearn for a vacation from the stress or boredom of their so-called regular lives? Well, what if the physical experience of human life is for divine non-physical consciousness what a dream vacation is for the average human? In other words, what if what most people think of as quote-unquote regular life is a welcome distraction for divine spiritual beings from the ennui of eternity, a relief? What if you chose this human life and before you got here, being human was all you ever wanted and you couldn't wait to get here and play? And you just happened to forget how much and for how long you actually looked forward to being in this particular iteration of yourself right here, right now. Imagine that version of you, the you who you were before you manifested and embodied the body you currently inhabit. From that perspective of eagerness and fascination as an outsider looking in and wanting to be a part of this world, this experience of your life, what is it that looks so fun? What was it that attracted your curiosity? Where did you imagine you would go? What did you imagine you would do? The short answer is that you would be right here, exactly where you are right now. In other words, the vacation you dreamed of is taking place right now. So now what? This is the perspective of your higher self. This is how your inner being feels about your life. Eager, curious, excited. A disembodied spiritual entity cannot experience things the way you do through your amazing physical senses. Everything you do is amazing to your inner being. The taste of bananas is amazing. A cold shower on a hot day is amazing. Trees are amazing. Things that you might consider mundane are just as fascinating to your spirit self as the stuff that you consider to be top-tier peak moments. In fact, in what you think of as peak moments, you feel the way you feel, elevated, high, and so on, because you are in alignment with your spirit. When you are pleased, you are one with your source energy. What does that have to do with manifestation? Well, it actually has a lot to do with it. Manifestation is instant as thinking of something fun to do, the way you do when you are on vacation, not because you are in a foreign country or because you aren't working, but because you have consciously made the decision to be free from concern, to take a break, to decompress, and so on. You have decided not to stress for now. Some people stress out even while on vacation, and some people get to travel to exquisite locations and complain about not being able to enjoy it because it's a business trip. Vacation is a state of mind. If all of your desires were fulfilled and you had all of the money you wanted and you enjoyed perfect health and harmonious relationships with others, how would you feel? You wouldn't have a care in the world, right? a burden would be lifted. Your mind would be free from concern. You would have no worries. It would be kind of like being on vacation. You would have a good time. You would have fun. So, whatever it is you intend to do for the next little while, whether it's taking a walk, doing the laundry, or even going to work, do it with the energy of being on vacation, because that is the energy of your source. That is the energy with which you came into being. It was your deepest desire to be here as the human being that you are. And here you are. You are your own wish fulfilled. It's just that you chose to forget it so that you could feel the bliss of remembering who you really are and learn to more and more often stay in alignment with your own bliss. In other words, you chose to forget so that you could enjoy the feeling of homecoming, which happens every time you focus on something as an excuse to flow your energy of love and appreciation. As often as you can, remind yourself that you are an eternal being who chose to experience life as a human being, that it was your deepest wish to be here, and what fun it is now that you are. How wonderful it is to finally be on vacation after all of the billions of trillions of light years you have traveled across the barren vacuum of empty space just to be here. You didn't come here to fix problems or to get stuff done. You came here on vacation to have a good time, which may or may not involve fixing problems and getting stuff done. But determination to fix problems and get stuff done is not the mood in which you came into being, not the mood in which you came to be here, not the mood, in other words, in which you birthed yourself. Creation is an act of love, an act of joy, and you created yourself. You chose to be here. Your parents were your path of least resistance to enter this incarnation, but the choice to be here was yours. You are not here to be perfect or to do things perfectly. You are here to have a good time. You get to drop your worries and be lighthearted. You get to join your highest self in his or her joy at getting to be on vacation, of getting to play the game of life, of getting to forget who you really are, as well as the divine nature of your dissatisfaction. All so that you could remember over and over and over again through a multitude of different physical manifestations in a zillion permutations, the joy of knowing that your deepest wish has been granted. The pure joy, in other words, of knowing the feeling of your wish fulfilled.